Okay, good afternoon, students. And I'm Charlie Xue, and I teach architecture at City University. And in the beginning of this semester, Dr. Chen Jiayu found me, and he said that, and he hopes that we can take some classes for this course because Dr. Lee left. And so I see some other teachers already share their ideas with you in the past weeks. And I myself study architecture, and in recent years, I pay attention on China's design institutes. So I hope to use that as a topic. And the topic is a history of design institutes in China from mouth to market. This is one of my books published in 2018. And I hope to use this as a main line. Actually, I just collate the PPT from several different PPTs, and I make them into this piece. And I hope that this can give you some clues of what happened in China in the past 70 years. And I see students are mostly from the Chinese mainland, so I think it will not be too strange for you. And some students may also practice in design institutes before you are enrolled to CityU or in your summer and winter vacations. So this PPT serves as a line, but the slides, between slides, there may not be very strong logics, not be many very strong logics, but we can still discuss something. And if it is too long, we can have a 10 minutes break between the PPT slides. And after my talk, we will still have a break. After the break, we come back to tutorial. In the tutorial, I hope to see your opinions on this topic. So I already deposit several files in your files of this canvas 6402. And I hope you have read that. And I will randomly name you and ask students to share 1 or 2 minutes of your ideas, okay, of your reading ideas, or whatever you are thinking in this topic. As you can see in this cover, there are 2 buildings and one building. And these 2 buildings, this is Eastern China Design Institutes, 华东建筑设计院 in Shanghai. This is Shanghai Design Institutes of Civil Architecture. And these 2 buildings were all built before 1949. So in the early 1950s, they were used as the headquarters of 2 most important design institutes in China. So these are now this building is in the Bund, Waitan, and this building is taken by the government. The government just swap land with this institute. They moved to other places, but the government used this today. If you go to this area, it is Waitan Yihao. It's a very high class entertainment club and in Shanghai. very expensive areas. And this building of East China Design Institute, and this building is still in use, It was a bank built in 1947. And after Chinese Communist Party took over the power in 1949, it was soon used by the Eastern China Design Institute. Studying on the design firm, we believe that certain design organization will produce a kind of design, We usually admire, very clean design, very beautiful design. They are from some kind of firms. So that is our belief. We think that a kind of organization can produce a kind of building form. And we see this is a typical Chinese design institutes. This picture was taken earlier, I think, and maybe in 2004 in some design institutes. And that they may produce this kind of buildings. And so we believe that certain organization form, and also their productivity level, and the final products of buildings, they have very strong and hidden link. People may not see that. People may not believe that. And but if you can see big data, and you can believe that. So I say paradigm decides form. Paradigm, what kind of paradigm you are using? What kind of paradigm you are using that finally decide the building form. And when we discuss design firm, we divide them into different directions and different type. Some firms, some design institutes, they have very strong service, very strong. Service is serve the client, to serve the client. If you want apple, I give you apple. If you want meat, I give you meat. If you want the meat is steamed or deep fried, that depends on you, right? Depends on you. So, and strong delivery, they follow the procedures very strictly, You let them to give you drawing in 1 week, they can give you 1 week, right? So that is strong delivery. Some firms have very strong ideas, and but they may not have so strong delivery, right? They may lag behind, okay, 2 days later, but no problem, they have their own market. But you ask any design institute, any firm, they will say, we are here, we have very strong ideas, we have very strong delivery, right? Every firm will not say they only have ambitions. So we see the situation of the early 1950s, and that is a revolution in Chinese history. And Mao Zedong and his comrades wanted China to become an industrial country from an agricultural country. And if you want to become an industrial country, that you need to build a lot of industrial bases. That mining, steel factories, vehicle factories, that will be usually very big scale. Those big scales needs industrial base, needs new construction, right? So the traditional private firms could not provide this service. Before 1949, I see there are around 10 famous design firms in China, around 10, and actively in Shanghai, Nanjing, perhaps 20, plus some foreign architects from 20. They were active in Shanghai, Nanjing, Chongqing, in these cities. And their scale is usually 20 to 30 staff, 20 to 30 staff. And using this scale, it's not enough to build so many things. And also government went to Beijing, and then Beijing needs to build a lot of buildings, government departments. They are living quarters, and all needs new buildings. So in this way, the government hopes that the designers and engineers, they can organize to a state-owned firm, And also, one purpose of socialism is to eliminate the private economy. So the future, the direction is the state-owned companies. And also we can see the term Yuan Institute was used. This is a result to learn from the Soviet Union. As Soviet Union used that name, and that is naturally translated into Chinese, into this term. And in the socialist period, the main building is factory, heavy industry factory. So this is in Beijing, and you can see, and the truss was made by wood with some steel rods. It looks very lightweighted, but the span is huge, perhaps 40 meters, 50 meters. And this is a heavy industry factory. You can see very tall. And also this portal, and this portal machine is moving on all the beams, here. And this was a usual scene in Shanghai and in the 1960s and 1970s, but now it's very difficult to find in Shanghai. So this is also in the 1950s, Changchun, and the first vehicular factories. In 1953, in the first 5-year plans, the government already planned 156 industrial bases. They were located in different places in China. And those bases were supported by the Soviet Union, and they give technologies. They also directed how to make a plan. For example, this Changchun vehicular factory, number one vehicular factory. The factory part was planned by the Soviet Union experts. They know how to make these workshops, big workshops. This part of the residential areas were planned by the Chinese architects in Changchun. So today, if you travel to Changchun, and this is already for tourist purpose, a lot of people visit here. Buildings are still kept. And for Chinese architects, they are in the threshold of a new life. Most of them, I give you some examples. These people are all the first generation of Chinese architects. You may never heard these people's names. They were active architects before 1949 in China. And these people stayed in China, and you can see they lived quite long life, right? Over 100 years old, And they working, this is in Shanghai, Nanjing, Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Shanghai. And also there are around 60 to 70 people. They went to Hong Kong mainly to Hong Kong. Some people go to Taiwan. I also give you some names. And these people are famous architects in Hong Kong. And you can see today, some of their buildings are still be used in Hong Kong. And the reform is to first to make public and private joint venture, then gradually becomes a public state-owned firm. So I just use one picture and one picture of a meeting, right, in the state-owned company. And we see how many people in this trade in the past 70 years. And in the beginning of the 1950s, we see the people is around, we use the number of 1, okay, 10,000 people. So that's 16,000 people. This number is 3 million, and that may be too many. And we see this is more correct. And on one side, it is the populations, increase of the population. Now China has around 1.4 billion people. And the population, this is the, and also you can see the statistics used to use the, in this trade of architectural design plus construction and surveying. So in the beginning, it is 16,000 something. Now it is, we estimate it's 1.7 to 1.8 million people in this trade. And students may not have that concept of how big, how many people in this, okay? How many people in this. And we see another number, unregistered architects. This is very detailed. You go to the website of Ministry of Construction. You can see the number of registered architects, registered civil engineers, and also services engineers. So after 24 years of registration, now only have 30-something architects. This is registered architects. Of course, you need to pass that 9 subjects. It is not easy to pass the examination. In the United States, there are 110,000 registered architects. United Kingdom, 40,000. Hong Kong, 4,000 something, more than that, plus. Taiwan, 4,000 plus. So you can see in such a big country as China, the registered architects number are far from enough. And a lot of buildings were designed by non-architect. They also design many buildings, especially in rural towns and also the towns below the county level. So in the 1950s, design institutes is the main force of construction in the socialist country. The government and people all have an utopian that if I can serve other people can serve me. We will all live in a happy socialist life. As you can see this picture, and how beautiful the life will be, and the multi-story house, and the bus, and the garden, everything is in the garden, right? And this seems to be in the rural areas, and the countryside. This is a town. So this picture describes the happy situation, life in the community, people's community. Okay, we see the main building type. Industrial buildings, mainly for heavy industry. And you can see these pictures were shot in 2017. Residential area, Shanghai built Caoyang Xinchun, and these are different phases, and the building is 3-story high, and designed according to the principle of neighborhood. It was allocated to workers, but not every workers can get a unit. You must be excellent workers, selected by your factory. I think in the factory of 100 people, there may be 3 to 4 people can have this unit. Shanghai has many factories, hospitals, and also schools. Then there are excellent teachers, excellent workers, excellent doctors and nurses. They can have this house. Okay, I put a Hong Kong's picture at the same time, 1950s, to use as a comparison. And Hong Kong government at the time is also doing a work of housing ordinary people. So in 1959, Shanghai moved some heavy industry factories to Minhang. Minhang is about 30 kilometers away from the city center of Shanghai. Now the government moved the factories to this town. It must also move the workers' house together. So in 5 months, Design Institute designed all the buildings along the streets. And so this is called one street in Minhang. And there are banks. So today you can see post office and residential workers' residential houses, residential buildings in Minhang. In Beijing, we see this is Baiwanzhuang, and this was planned in this way, and every buildings surround, they have their own courtyard. Then there's a central open space. And also I put a campus plan of Tianjin University, and we see in this Tianjin University campus, this pink part is the staff quarters. These are purple colors are students' quarters, and so living quarters take a big chunk of the whole campus. So we see that is the characteristics of socialism, and so the workers, staff, they all live in the same courtyard. And there are shops here, canteens, restaurants, and wet market, so you can buy things inside this courtyard, inside this gate of Tianjin University. The second type of building in the socialism is the government building to symbolize the state power. So this is Chongqing's People's Congress in Chongqing, and in 1954, and we see this building very magnificent, and for Congress, and also for concerts, and for people's gathering. So this building was completed in the early 1950s. So today it is still kept in a good manner. It is not easy. And also, this is today's Beijing Exhibition Center. And but in the beginning it was Sino, Soviet Union Friendship Building, 1955. Okay, People's Congress, Great Hall of the People. People all know that. This building, the Great Hall of People, has 170,000 square meters. How big is 170,000 square meters? You should know Festival Walk outside CityU campus. Festival Walk only has 100,000 square meters. So this is almost double size of the Festival Walk with so big space of the Congress and also the banquet hall and so many buildings. This building, from design to completion of the construction, only used 11 months. 11 months. For Festival Walk, I see its construction. From design to construction, it's about 7 to 8 years. But that was already very fast in Hong Kong. Hong Kong has some other cases to drag for 20 years. So you can see the government is able to assemble all the forces to fulfill a task, no matter how difficult this task is, and the government can think of that. And I think that is the advantages of the socialism. Then every other provinces to build their own great hall. This is in Chengdu, built in the 1970s. So this is also in the 1950s. 1950s, there are architects, there are engineers, there are technocrat. Technocrat means the administrative and the officers. They also know technologies. Architect. Engineers also takes the leading role in the 1950s, and because they are needed to build many big, large span buildings. So this is in Tsinghua University. This is the master plan of Moscow University. Tsinghua University hopes to learn from Moscow University and also plan a main building like this soon after it was built. And that is in the high socialism period, and the architects are encouraged to have teamwork to produce buildings and for the country. And Jiang Nanxiang is the president of Tsinghua University, and he directly controlled and also led the construction of the Tsinghua campus. So this is Moscow University. So if you travel to Moscow, you must visit this building, and very monumental, very big. And that is Tsinghua University campus. And Tsinghua University campus, and it once want to build the same height and also same manner of building. But at that time, China does not have enough money, and so it stopped in 10-story. But you can see that planning has many similarities. That is in Shanghai, and Shanghai also group work by led by the old engineers and architects, let the young people to study the sport building. And design institutes, as we see the example of Tianjin University. Design institutes, they usually, this is design institutes. And this is the residential buildings, and also some halls and canteens here. So living and working are all organized within the wall, So that is the main street. I think our students, you may also have these experiences with your parents, with your grandparents, or living some schools in some work units, right? And later I would like to hear from you. And also design institutes train young people, because China only has had 8 architecture schools. It is not enough graduates. So the design institutes, they can train young high school leavers and to train them how to draw, what's the building regulations. So they can, some people became senior architects, senior engineers in the later years. And of course, the government and communists have many different tasks. If you are sent to other places, you must leave. You must pack your bag and go tomorrow morning. So that is the architect we met in Shenzhen. And when he was young, he was sent to Tibet, and very dangerous. We are very moved by his story. And the third front is the government policy. And because the government want to move all the industries to the mountain areas, and to Sichuan, Hubei. So that is the rows of residential buildings and factories were built in the mountain areas. And here we insert another story, is the university-run design institutes. This is highly Chinese. In the other university, in Hong Kong, you cannot see any university can run a design institute. But in China, many universities, now more than 200 universities, run their design institutes. And if they have an architecture department, civil engineering department, they do their design institutes. This is in 1952. The government adjust the higher education and then merge some universities together. Okay, so this is a time chart of the design institute, university-run design institutes. 1953, 1958, great leap forward. 1966, start of Cultural Revolution. Then the 1980s, the reform. So in here, it is mainly amateur design by staff and students. From here, it becomes a professional design institutes. And after 1995, it's completely market. So Mao plus market, completely market, 21st century. So there are 3 most important: Tongji, Tsinghua, South China University, Institute of Technology. They all started from 1953. These are professors in Tongji, old professors. They are all first generation of architects in China. And this is also description of university-run design institutes. So that is also for the Great Hall of the People, and every university also submit their design. And so those were buildings designed in Tongji University in 1954, and that is China's Bauhaus building. And academic buildings in Tongji University in 1955, so almost 70 years. It's still well kept and highly used every day. And the students' hall, students' dormitory in the 1950s. And this was originally a canteen, and it becomes a university hall, and it is 40 meters span, and 40 meters span, and it is an experiment by the structural engineers and teachers at Tongji University. That is the clubhouse of Tongji University. So all of those were listed as heritage buildings, by the government, Shanghai government. That is Tongji University's design of building in Wuhan, and so that is Mao Zedong's residence in Wuhan. And one task is to support foreign countries, foreign aid, and China has aided over 1,500 buildings, over 2,000 projects in overseas countries, in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, mainly in those 3 continents. And these were designed by design institutes in a very difficult situation. So this is in Mongolia, this is in Sri Lanka, and Colombo. And that is in Egypt, that is the International Congress. And this is the statistics for stadium. China built more than 100 stadiums in overseas. So this is my study, and the PhD student, and one of my PhD students is doing this, and stadium diplomacy, to trace China 8 sport buildings in overseas, and Asia, Africa, Latin America. So you can see Africa received most number of China's aided stadiums. Some countries got 4 stadiums. Stadium diplomacy, okay, and that is in the 1980s. This is in 2008, designed by Beijing architects. And these are foreign architects design in China, all the grand theaters. So this is China's grand theaters built in foreign countries, designed by Chinese architects. In Addis Ababa. That is in Latin America, in Costa Rica. And yes, that is in Senegal. Senegal people love wrestling, and but they do not have a wrestling professional stadium. So China support this. And Xi Jinping attended the opening ceremony in June 2018. And also, in the most difficult times, the state-owned design institutes will be in the front. Whenever in the earthquake, they go there to measure the damage and how to restore the town. So that is Tongji University's design of the Beichuan, earthquake museum. So you are all familiar with this. This is in Wuhan, just last month. So many cranes. I read there are many news in the internet, and also in your mobile phone, there are many news. So the Central China Design Institutes, they received the task in the New Year's Eve, 大年夜, and then they survey the site, to walk the site in the evening. Then in Yanchu 2, 2 days later, they deliver all the drawings. Then 1 week, and the construction companies built all the Huoshengshan Hospital, right? So that is a miracle, only happened in China. So those pictures I just download from website. There are many these. I want to learn how these prefabricated boxes are installed, and I also hope to know the technical know-how of how to do those. Those are very useful, especially in the disaster relief. You need to have a lot of houses, a lot of buildings in 1 week, in 10 days. Okay. Design institutes also pioneered in the green architecture when the nations demand them, and that they will explore that first. Private firms, it's impossible to explore the new things, especially in the technical revolution. That is in the Shenzhen and Shenzhen. And foreign architects works, in China in the past 30 years, we can see 40 years, there are more than 1,000 buildings designed by foreign architects in China. But how can those buildings settle down on the Chinese earth? Those were finally helped by the Chinese design firms. Chinese design institutes, they draw the construction drawing, send for submission, resolve all the technical problems and Chinese building regulations, and also go to site supervision and finally make the building done. As you can see, these are all the grand theaters. Grand theater is one of my research topics, and were designed by foreign architects, but they were finally settled down by the Chinese architects. So in the 1980s, Chinese architects designed some performance buildings, but when foreign architects came, and most of the jobs were taken by the foreign architects. And yes, it's glad to see that some Chinese architects, they can finally got the commission. And for example, in Nanjing, in Zhuhai, and this is in Harbin, all designed by the Chinese architects. A guardian of construction quality. And so that is also only made by the state-owned design firm, and also by the government organized force. You can see, and compiling so many technical data, there's no money, very few money, right? And for the compilers and writers, and there are very few money, but this was impossible for private practitioners and for only profit-making companies. This was only made by the design institutes in China in the past 50 years. And the government, Ministry of Construction, continuously organized the updating of the materials. And also the Chinese culture. We want to keep it, we want to record it, and we want to make it a heritage from generation to generation. This task is also mainly taken by design institutes. This is in Huanghelou. This is Zhang Jingqiu's design in Shanxi. And the Western architects, when they are talking about the socialist architecture, they have fierce criticism, and say individual will only follow the government's command. And we see this may not be the case, and because this is not a private firm, and there's no boss, no authority. Individual architects and designers, they can display their own cleverness. So in Architecture Journal, from these 12 years, we count about 110 issues and articles, 1,400 something, and authored by various architects. This is even impossible in other countries, and only the company can publish their work. Individual designers could not publish their works. Okay, I want to take 10 minutes break, and my throat is feel quite and painful, so let us have 10 minutes break, okay?
While solving the problem of domestic employment, it also opens a window for Chinese manufacturing to enter the world. And once the African economy has made significant progress in the future, Africa is bound to become a huge new consumer market. With the rapid development of Chinese economy, I think China's overseas layout is more and more extensive and deepened. And Africa becomes a part of a Chinese global crucial partner. So I think this is a bilateral, mutually beneficial policy.
Yes, very good. So if there's a position in Africa, will you go? If
No.
If a Chinese company, if your design institute send you, where are you from?
I'm from Fujian.
Fujian, yes. If will you go back to Fujian and after graduation from CTU?
Maybe I will choose Shenzhen, Hangzhou, or come back to my hometown.
Okay. And if your design firm send you to Africa, will you go?
No.
If your company, your boss let you to there for 3 months, will you accept?
Oh yeah, 3 months, okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I see some other names here, and Li Chuan.
Hi.
Yes, can you please say something?
I read the paper, which is meeting production, teaching, and research the role of university-run design institution in the Chinese architectural parties. Because I learned civil engineering and my my university, so I want to talk about some structure things, which it's based on the development of the China architecture. At the late of the 20th century, I think the people are using the precast slab. I have some memories. My home, it's like use this kind of material. The noise is very loud, and it's not very safe. That's why I think the most of foreigner company are are doing the job for China, because they know how to use reinforced concrete structure or the steel structure. That's what we learn and developing in the modern modern China. So and for now, the Huoshenshan hospital are using, I think it's mobile casting technology, mobile housing technology, and this technology I think also are widely used in the Africa. So that's really good.
Yes, good sharing, good sharing. Okay. Okay, and yes, Longhua, please. Longhua, please.
Okay. Hello, Professor. Can you hear me? Yeah. Maybe I'm not with formal close-up, but to respect you, I just open my camera.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. I read two paper. One of the paper is about the history of institutes, and another one is stadium diplomacy. Firstly, I will show the history of an institute. Thanks for you to sharing the important things for us. I think whenever and whatever we are, we should know our culture and history first, and it gives us more passion in the future career. Thank you. And I would like to talk about more about the Africa career. China intends to consider long-term strategy, not to gain immediately economic profit. I agree with it. For example, in 21st century, most Chinese technicians are single children at home and grow up in a relative better materialist condition. This was his I would like to say sometimes this is a spirit which we have to do, then we deserve the better. Because a lot of my classmates go to Africa, doing a lot of sacrifice and doing a lot of job here. So I have a lot of thoughts about this.
The sound is not.
Hello?
The sound is not very good. The sound is not very good. Yes, now we can. Yeah, we can.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can.
Sorry for the poor network. And in this article, there's a word or a problem maybe. Some projects did attract global and national criticism. I agree with it because I would like to share some experience. In my undergraduate university, there is a stadium named Correct Sports Stadium. Do you know it?
Which university? Where?
Guangdong University of Technology.
Okay, Guangdong University of Technology.
Okay. The name is so it's not familiar with us. The sports is also I have never seen it before, but the stadium still there. I just used once. It wasted a lot of money and materials. Maybe I think just for a game, or I really don't know it's for what game, but it's the World game. So that's my show.
Okay, very good, very interesting, very interesting. So Longhua, you are in Guangzhou, right? You are in Guangzhou, right? You are in
my home is in Shenzhen, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So if your company send you to Africa for 3 months, will you go?
I will go. It's very interesting to me.
Okay. It's for 3 years. 3 years.
3 years. Maybe I will talk with my family first.
Okay. Okay.
But I would like to go there. It's
Yeah.
it's mystery lined in, and yeah.
Yes. Very good. Thank you very much, Longhua. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the other students should learn from Longhua. Okay, turn on your camera. Okay, and we can see some other people have not yet said. Okay,
Bye bye.
you can keep it on. Okay.
Really, it's so strange.
Yeah. Do you want to name some other students? Yes, and Longhua, you name some other students. You are more familiar with your classmates, right? Whom never speak out. You just let them to talk. You just invite these students to talk.
It's student. 李欣笑.
Li Xingxiao, please.
Okay, fine.
Turn on your camera, please.
My camera is bad. I'm so sorry about that.
Okay.
So I want to share my thoughts.
Yes.
I read 3 articles except for that book. I read all the rest. But I don't know much about diplomacy, so I just want to talk about my thoughts on the 2 remaining articles. To be honest, before I read this article, I haven't considered the issues discussed in the article carefully. First, the mediating production, teaching, and research. This article, there is no doubt that the composition of the Chinese construction industry, the construction mode of Chinese architecture, and the various participants involved in it. All of these things have their particularities in China. I know that the university-run design institutes often participate in the bidding of some domestic and foreign projects, and they often do some proposal bidding. I think this is really very powerful things, because the university-run design institute participate in the design of projects in the society. Not only could make benefits for the school operating and the research funds, but more importantly, it gives scholars and the students greater confidence and motivations. And at the same time, it stimulates them to learn and to research. It has also established a positive image in society. Whether profit is the first purpose in the fundamental difference between university-run design institutes and other social or government-run design institutes. The university-run design institutes is more focused on research and learning. So I think that the university-run design institutes have promoted the development of China's construction industry to a great extent. In other words, I can say they are the industry leader. The second article, the design institutes as a hybrid organization between real crazy and charisma. I always thought that the architecture is a form of art, but the architecture is definitely not art. The reason is simple, because the architecture cannot create whatever you want to express. You must consider the practicability. so unlike paintings or sculptures, the creator is free to create, because sometimes his work is valuable simply by being placed there. But buildings are different. Buildings are usually large and expensive. If architects don't build a building with low practicability just for artistic purpose, then the building has no meaning. In China, practical buildings can be found everywhere in our country, but we do not lack artistic buildings or landmark buildings. So when we are designing an artist building, we must also consider whether the building is integrated with the city or the surrounding environment. So I think, which is also very important. That's all my opinions.
Yes, yes, very good. Very good. Li
Thank
Xinxiao, yes, can you please name other students? Can you please name a student?
Name,
Name one.
let me see. Wang Ruyin.
王如颖刚才讲过了。
Oh, sorry. 翟玉坤.
查玉坤 ，OK.
Thank you.
查玉坤 please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Can you please turn on your camera? Yeah.
I just read the two article. One is about Chinese construction aid in Africa. Another is just a Chinese article. From the two articles, I think Chinese in construction in this year have play a more important role in the world, and the Chinese in international image has improved much. To be honest, I'm very confused at first to think is Chinese aid in many aspects in Africa is invalid at the very beginning. I thought, but after read this article, I think Africa is a very big market. Maybe is very useful for Chinese or in the world in the future. So the articles makes me feel very proud. And in that Chinese article, I think although in the cultural revolution, the many scholars were set up, but I remember one designer in Guilin, he contributed a lot during his what's that word? During his out of his job. So I thought maybe Chinese don't have much famous architecture, but Chinese people's Chinese people's quality are very good. I'm sorry, my I my yeah expert.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No problem, no problem. Yes, we can, by and large, know you have learned something. Do you want to ask some other students to talk and your friends and invite your friends to talk?
Let me think.
Yes.
Because
Okay.
please 知见湖.
Hello, I'm Hu Zhijian.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, can you please turn on your camera, please? We see.
Maybe it's not convenient. Sorry.
Your other students already turned on.
Okay, I just want to share some ideas about the article I read.
Yes.
What I read, the article what I read is the role of university-run design institute in Chinese architectural practice. And after reading this article, I mainly have following two ideas. The first is that I learned that in many cases, these institutions created or emerged because of the social environment at the time, especially some political or economic factors. The second point is the relationship between design and research in this type of design institute. We know that the school may mainly focus on the research, but showed some shortcomings in practice. However, the university-run design institutes can build a good bridge between school and society and make some research more convenient to be applied in practice. And on the other hand, these practical projects can provide students with a more direct and a real experience rather than just theoretical. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, and yes, and very good. Thank you very much, and Hu Zijian. I see, and some students already give you ideas, and we should wrap up here. And if there's no more questions, do you have any question?
Yeah, I have one question.
Meng Yan.
Yeah. I'm quite curious about what Western construction institutes have done, because like China, they have done many aid construction in Africa and Latin America, but that was, I feel, like several aspects for them to do that. One is quite important to build the bilateral relationship with other countries, but how about Western countries, what they have done to, in construction side, what they have done to improve their relationship or enhance the relationship with other countries?
Yes, and I think you have seen the problem. And Western countries, from this practice of foreign aid mainly started from after the Second World War. So from the early 1950s, the Western countries are mainly give money. They usually donate or send a medical team or give money. And very few, they build buildings. China built most buildings, bridges, and infrastructure and buildings. But the Western country, they criticize China. They use other ways of foreign aid.
Oh, okay, I see. Also, they also do that, but the form of doing that is different from China. Okay.
Different. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Very good question. Yes.
Thank
have
you.
any question? Any students have
question.
any question?
I have.
Yes. Yes. Meng Yuan. Yes. Li Meng Yuan.
I mean, I read the article, Mediation, Production, Teaching, and Research.
Yes.
So I realized the university-run institutes still have authority in architecture and civil construction. They publish textbooks, papers, journals, and they also setting standards in construction and architecture. So how are people, the public, to inquiry this institute systematically and regularly in about their design or project?
How the public to
inquiry.
Okay.
Institutes.
I think for design institutes, they run as a business. For the public may know their activities through several ways. One is that if you are the users, you know the building, and then you will give some requirements. In the public hearing, you may give some opinions. In generally, I don't think public has many relationship with the design institutes, with the university. I don't know if this answers your questions. And
but I also realized another question is knowledge requirement of design in society. I don't know what it is that mean in this article.
Oh, requirements of the society.
Requirement of design knowledge in society.
Okay. Requirement in the for the university-run institute, they have one task is to create knowledge. So they compile books and sometimes they compile journals to disseminate, to spread those knowledge and to meet the society's needs for such a knowledge.
So it's about theory.
Yes, part of their tasks is to create theories and create building regulations and then to spread that to the society. Yes, I don't know if this answers your questions.
I guess it is. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Students have any questions? If no more questions, we may stop here. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for participating. Thank you. And also one student, I see chatbot, and one student say to turn on the recording, and that is after 1 o'clock. I cannot find, and I'm not very familiar with the system. I cannot find where to record. Now we are recording this part of the dialogue. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.